Well, hi, welcome back to Mr. America Hart. I'm John Hart, and today we're talking about the most dangerous high-intensity training principle and some of the injuries that I actually had happen to me because of them. Or it, I should say. Now listen, if I had to take a whole spectrum and judge them myself, this is based on my own personal training on myself as well as hundreds of clients over the last 30, 40 years. And I had to grade them from least to the most dangerous. My opinion, from least to most. On the least dangerous end would be Superslow training. Superslow is a form of training where you're moving the weight in anywhere up to 10 seconds on the positive or concentric portion of the movement and up to 10 seconds on the negative or eccentric portion of the movement. Generally, Superslow training. It's a trademark type of training. Ken Hutchins down in Florida, you can look that one up. Boom. Superslow is the least dangerous. Great for certain populations, but also, to me, brings the least reward, the least progress. As you go down that spectrum of least dangerous to the most dangerous, of course, there's a risk-benefit ratio you have to weigh out. And I have found that the most, I'm just jumping all the way to the other end, and the most dangerous to me has been partial rep training. Partial rep training. There was a book written years ago. Shoot, I'll have to look up Cisco. Cisco. Pete Cisco, one of the authors of the book, Power Factor Training. And it was all about partial rep training. Now, why partial rep training in the first place? What are the benefits of partial rep training? Partial rep training is based on the fact that within a certain given portion of a repetition on any exercise you do on any body part, if you're talking about squats, obviously you're standing with the weight on your back. If you barely bend your knees and stand back up again, bend them 2 inches, stand back up again, you're going to be much stronger and able to use much more massive poundages than if you were to go down into a rock bottom or even a parallel squat. You're going to be able to use much more weight if you only trained in that 2-inch portion of the range of motion, the top part. In the squat, it's not the bottom 2 inches, it's the top 2 inches where you will be the strongest. You can use the most massive weight possible. Don't believe me? Test it out. You could put, however much weight you can do in the bottom position, put it on the pins in the power rack, like I have in my training studio. I have a power rack. Set the pins at the lowest position where you're in the bottom position of a squat. See how much weight you could stand up with from that position. I guarantee you that when you compare that to what you could lift with the pins set just 2 inches below your full height, standing up, fully erect position, just go 2 inches below that. I guarantee you could lift 5 times as much weight, 3 times as much weight. I'm exaggerating, but a lot more weight, maybe twice as much from just the top position, that 2-inch range of motion. Same thing with the bench press. Bench press, the bottom position down here, boom, 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 you could lift a certain amount of weight if you're just trained in that range of motion. I guarantee you that if you go up here near lockout, just a couple of inches from lockout, you can go ahead and you will be able to bench just if you trained in that 2-inch range of motion, set the pins in a power rack, that's what a power rack is for, and do just partial reps in the bottom half, and then compare that to what you can do in the top half. I'm saying all this just to prove what has already been discussed and proven. You're much stronger in that one portion of the range of motion. So therefore, there was an entire principle, an entire high-intensity technique, partial rep training, that was designed, power factor training, they called it back in the 90s, that was designed all around doing just the strongest part of your range of motion. And by the way, anybody who claims that you're strongest in the fully stretched position is wrong, completely wrong. Test that one out yourself, like I just told you in those 2 examples. The squat, the bench press. Do it on an overhead press. Do it, there's multiple exercises you can do this on. Compare. Tricep extension all the way down versus just barely unlocking your elbows like this. Tricep extension. All the way down, you will not be able to lift You know, whatever you can lift all the way down here, you go all the way to the top, right near lockout, and do just 2-inch repetitions. You can use massive repetitions. Unlock, relock, as opposed to all the way in the stretch position. I don't want to keep going on about that, but just understand, anybody who claims otherwise is wrong. Okay, they need to get their physiology together. I mean, you know, biomechanics, they're just wrong. So you're strongest near those ranges of motion that I just described in those exercises. Virtually every body part is the same way. Right near fully contracted position. Virtually. Your hamstrings are different. Let's just asterisk those, okay? They're the opposite. Partial rep training, very severe. So I stand under the bar, I get all psyched up, and sure enough, I stand up with that weight, I come down with it, I stand up with it again, and I come down with it. On the 3rd repetition of that set, I mean, man, I don't know what happened, but bang! My lower back. Oh boy, did it hurt. And I got out from under that thing and I said, no, not doing that. I put the weight down immediately. And you know, I had to go out and get adjusted, saw the chiropractor immediately, had that thing blasted back in place. It was hurting for a little while, had some soft tissue work done on my back, on my hip flexors, all the areas to make sure that everything was really set back to normal. Never went back again. You know, never went back to that type of thing. So putting that heavy weight, basically, my legs could take it, but my back couldn't. So, you know, I know in power factor training, they talk about using a leg press as opposed to using squats at the time. Okay, if you want to get technical like that, I would put forth to you that doing the leg press, I probably could have used even more weight than I was subjecting myself to in the squat. And bypassing the spine and all of that, loading the spine, I should say, bypassing it, I have no doubt that the risk of tearing a quad muscle or a patella tendon would be much, much greater in that little partial rep range. Therefore, setting it all the way at that top end of the danger scale in my world. So there was the squat situation, and it did hurt my back. Boom. I got it handled right away, and it was gone pretty quick. And I did get lower back work done on myself and my hip flexors for quite a while afterwards, but just for insurance purposes. So that was one. The other one, which was beyond a surprise to me, that one wasn't such a surprise, you know, because of course I'm loading my back. It made sense. I was going to cause a little bit of a problem if I used enough weight. The one that was a surprise was, again, I got this one straight from power factor training, the bench press, with the pins set just, what was it, 1.5 inches, 2 inches below full lockout. I knew that you're going to get a lot of tricep work in that one. You're going to get your anterior deltoid. You're going to get your pecs involved, just like they hoped in that book, as well as in the all principles ever discussed about partial reps. They're hoping to get thicker by using those muscles in just that one range of motion. I get under the bar. Normally, whatever weight it was that I could use for a regular bench press, I'm not a big bench presser in the first place, just so we're all clear about that one. You know, doesn't feel good on my body, on my shoulders, my chest. Doesn't get much out of it. I use dumbbells, and they're much better. But in this case, I decided, let me give it a try. And I kind of wish at the time, in thinking back, that I would have done it on the incline instead of doing it on the flat. But I did it on the flat just to see what I could do, just to see how, again, I went in the gym excited, psyched up for this, right? Went in there, and I was with a partner of mine, and we decided to do those partial reps within 1.5 inches, 2 inches of full lockout. We set the pins, our arms are almost exactly the same, identical in length, so we are doing serious partial reps. And according to power factor training, you're supposed to be knocking out quite a few repetitions along the lines of maybe 20 or so. And that weight, it looks a little bit violent the way they do this movement. But I wasn't going to do that. There's a lot of weight I'm handling on there. I wasn't wearing any wrist wraps or any elbow wraps or sleeves or anything like that. I got under there and said, well, let me see what I can do without all those accessories. I wanted the muscle tissue to get a hit, right? So I get underneath there and I build on up. Keep in mind, at that time I could probably bench 3 plates, okay? Maybe at that time. Again, I was younger. I was in my 30s now at that time. So I was also, here's a little side note, I was on a diet. I was dieting for a show. Whew. Dorian Yates himself has said many times that all of his injuries came at just one time. During pre-contest training, when he was drained, when he was using an extremely low-calorie diet, when his body had been, perhaps a little bit damaged and not fully recovered, not fully rested, all of that, right? Excuse the alarms out there. You'd think that, we have a lot of crime going on in the area. But I digress. I was in that same situation, drained. I'm training with the weights. I'm dieting for my contest. I'm doing cardio work on the side. I'm practicing posing. So who knows what kind of shape my body was in at that one point in time. I set the pins, I get under the bar, and I start building up. 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plates. 3 plates was easy, right? 4 plates. I moved 4 plates up, down. I did it a few times and I could handle more. I put on 4 plates and a 25 on each side. Okay, I get under that bar. Go to push it. First rep. The first repetition. Bang! What happens? Well, you would think wrist, elbow, tricep tendon. You would think shoulder. No. My upper back being pushed into the bench. I wasn't used to this. I wasn't ready for this. The muscles of my upper back weren't ready for this. It was horrible. The severe contraction that came on in my upper back, it did seem like there was a bang. I heard a little bit of a pop. Okay, pushing vertebrae in God knows what direction. I went ahead. Of course, I walked away from that one that day. I went ahead and of course, I went to the chiropractor. Of course, there was an x-ray. Of course, everything was deemed to be in one piece. The most dangerous high-intensity technique. The injuries that I've had from it, you now know. And that's it. Neither one of them was severe to the point of permanent maiming me or injuring me or damaging me. I have no injuries today as I sit before you at 56. I'm happy to report that and thankful that I never tore any muscles because of all of that. Some of the guys, such as, earlier on I mentioned Dorian Yates, he had multiple training injuries and multiple torn muscles. He had the bicep tear, he had the tricep tear, he had a quad tear, he had a rotator cuff, one of the muscles up there, or tendons, ligaments, I'm sorry, a ligament he said was torn. All of those added up eventually to end his career. All of those, according to his own words, happened when he was on a diet. None of those happened in the off season. He's the only individual that I know of, that I can think of, that anybody has mentioned even in my comments section. Now I know you all are going to go down the comments section. Please feel free and do it. I'd love to hear your opinions on this, but please don't go in there and just say, HIIT is dangerous. HIIT will cause injuries. HIIT works, but you will get injured, okay? When the world is full of people who train with higher volume, who have major injuries from torn muscles, torn tendons, yes, the rotator cuffs, the knees, you can go on and on. Soft tissue injuries left and right, galore. So, please, if you're going to say that about high-intensity training and use Dorian as the example, please go ahead and find some other examples that you might try to come up with. But he's just not the poster child of HIIT dangerous. Ready? HIIT as a IFBB professional bodybuilder who was trained at the extreme for years and years and years. Yes, using drugs by his own admission, bodybuilding drugs by his own admission. And then on top of it all, in contest prep mode, which if you've never done it, then you don't know what it's like. Okay, you just don't know what it's like. You don't know how severe contest prep mode really is on your system, on your muscles, on your joints, on your tendons. So, I want the best for you. People ask, why you focus on high intensity training? Because I want the best for you. Why do you focus on, certain techniques that just don't, that I believe don't work very well? I just named 2 of them in this video. I believe that, obviously partial rep training with the massive weights you use, it doesn't work well because it's dangerous, so dangerous to other parts of your body you wouldn't expect, like happened to me. I mentioned the other one, Superslow. I believe that it's, other than for a geriatric crowd, they benefit greatly from it. I find it extremely, extremely ineffective past the first time that you use it. And that's just me. I did it many times. found it fairly ineffective. Control the weights you lift, lift big weights, okay, and train to failure. And if you do those things, great things will come. That's it today. Hey, before you go, if you're liking the videos that I'm doing, please, first, feel free, down below, comment. Tell me your opinion. Tell me what you think. What's the most dangerous training technique you could possibly think to use? What's the least effective one? How's that sound? I just named my opinion on what the least effective one was. Superslow. So, feel free. Hit it down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Now, before you go, if you're digging these videos, off to my left, you can see the subscribe button pop up right about now. There it is. Give that thing a tap, and you will be notified every time I come up with a new video. Down below, off to your left, there's a thumbs up down there. Please give this video a thumbs up. It helps the video out and the channel out with the YouTube algorithm. I look forward to seeing you again.